Just use the freaking slide lock lever. That's all I'm saying. Just use it. Trust me. Use it. It's fast. I pull it back, I drop it. There's no faster way. That's what the button's there for. Use it. Hi, I'm Matt Smith. I'm a retired United States Army Green Beret, and I'm the Director of Training at Sheepdog Response, and we train with firearms. And so today, I'm answering questions about firearms. Obviously, we can't cover all the aspects in a 10-minute video, but we'd like to cover some of the main subjects just to help to educate the viewers and make sure that they understand a little bit more and don't get in over their heads. So if you're gonna get into the firearms community, obviously, it's very important that you're a safety-oriented individual. First and foremost, we treat every weapon as if it's loaded. You always treat every weapon as if it's loaded, right? You never point a weapon at anything that you don't intend to destroy, not even in training or in play. We take that very serious, so never point a weapon at anything that you don't intend to engage with a weapon. Whenever I'm not firing a weapon or actively looking through the sights, I never put my finger in the trigger well or on the trigger. My finger always stays straight and along the lower receiver, the lower portion of the gun. That's just for safety. That also sends a real clear message to people that you're training with. Like, look at me, I know I'm a competent shooter. I know not to put my finger on the trigger, especially with modern guns. Modern guns, the only safety is on the trigger. A lot of models, so you want to make sure that you never put your finger on the trigger. The other cardinal rule is always know what your target is, know what's behind it, know what's around it. It's important to identify what we're shooting and the surrounding areas to understand. And then one that I like to add on there is, like, when a weapon's loaded, it belongs in one of two places. It's either holstered safely or it's pointed at a target that you're actively engaging. That's the only two acceptable places for that thing. I don't load weapons and leave them sitting around. I don't lay them down on the table loaded. If I'm gonna lay it down on the table or I'm gonna break it down to do any kind of maintenance on it, I can make sure that I safely clear it and do a good 3-point check, meaning look in the barrel, look in the mag well, look on the slide face to make sure there's nothing there, and absolutely sure that it's clear before I do anything with it. So just know that if you join your local gun club or if you get involved in the shooting community, they're very serious about those rules, and once you've learned those rules, there's no limit to your education or your capability. But the other really important thing to note is a firearm isn't the answer to all your questions, especially when it comes to self-defense. You need to start with you personally. You should look at you and say, do I have the ability to defend myself without a firearm? I highly recommend martial arts training, and in martial arts training in a field where that is a pressure-tested martial art, such as jiu-jitsu, judo, Muay Thai, where we're actually gonna spar and use that skill. That way I'm training myself as a weapon first and relying on that primarily. And then the next thing is your mind you have to have a mental weapon, and you do that through training in situational awareness. All weapons training incorporates some element of situational awareness, meaning training to see the threats before they come. You want to be able to see threats out on the horizon so that you can avoid those threats and it doesn't come to the point where you have to draw a firearm and use it. But I don't rely on hope as a plan. I train myself, and you should train yourself too. Start by training yourself, then get some good situational awareness training so that you understand your surroundings. And then once you've mastered that, you can get into the world of firearms and use the firearms for self-defense. The basic controls on the gun, as you look at this one, I'll pick it up here and I'll clear it just to make sure we got a nice safe pistol. I'll do my 3-point check. So the basic controls, without a doubt, the trigger, very important. That's the thing that has it fire around. All right, if I turn it over to the other side, the other two basic controls are this, which is the slide lock lever, or slide release as it's often referred to, and then this one, which is the magazine release. Those three controls are designed to be operated with my thumb and my finger. So my thumb is here to operate these controls. I put pressure there, and it drops the slide, and then of course the trigger is designed to operate with my trigger finger. And those are the three basic controls of a modern semi-automatic pistol. Yeah, I can talk about loading and unloading. Let me do that again while I'll lock this through or do a good 3-point check and set it up there. Hand me the dummy rounds. We'll use some dummy rounds. So if I use a dummy round, I'll take the magazine that's intended for this weapon and I'll load a dummy round into it just so you can see. That's a magazine, a lot of times referred to as a clip, erroneously referred to as a clip, what we in the shooting business call a magazine. Here, I'll take the weapon. So first and foremost, when I want to load this thing, it'll usually be slide forward as it is now, as it rests in the holster. The first thing I do is I lock the slide to the rear using that slide release mechanism that we talked about. I push it upwards and then lock the slide to the rear. Then I'm going to take the magazine and I'm going to fully seat it in the mag well, which is the open area in the grip here, until I hear it click into place. Once that's clicked into place, I'll usually rotate the weapon over until I can see that round and battery. Here you can see the orange plastic dummy round that I've placed in the battery there. So I want to rotate it into my line of sight. I'll work high up in my workspace like this because I want to be able to see out into the horizon. I don't want to be looking at the weapon and focusing. I'm just going to see that round in my periphery so I see it in there. And then all I'm going to do is put pressure on that slide release as I point it in a safe direction and watch that round, see that round go into battery. I see it go in and I know that's a loaded weapon. That's a good feeling that it's ready to go when I need it. Notice that my finger stays straight and along the slide the whole time. Doesn't go into the trigger because we're going to treat that like it's a loaded weapon, even though we know we loaded it with a dummy round. But that is how you load a pistol. When I want to unload it, the very first thing I have to do is remove that magazine. So the first thing that's got to happen is that magazine's got to come out. So I'm going to depress the magazine release on this side with my thumb and dump the mag out into my hand. I'm going to stow that magazine. That magazine has got to come out first when you start the unloading procedure, because if you don't take it out first, there's a chance you could accidentally reload another live round. So first things first, take the magazine out. Next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna lock the slide to the rear using that slide release lever, and you're gonna watch the round inject out of the ejection port here. And so you just grab the slide, push up on the slide release lever, pull it back, and watch that round eject. It's a good feeling to me when I see it come blazing out of there. That tells me, hey, my extractor is working perfectly. And so it's a good diagnostic check your pistol. And then to finish out your clearing procedure, you're gonna do what's called a 3-point check, which I look in the barrel. So I'm looking down at the barrel, make sure I don't see anything in the barrel. It's nice and clean. I look through the mag well. When I look through the mag well, I wanna see daylight through there. That tells me I did that first step correctly. And I took the magazine out. And then I look on the slide face. And I look here, I'm looking at the extractor and all the mechanisms of the weapon to make sure that if I have to reload that thing again quickly, it's ready to go. And then if I want to, I can point it in a safe direction and drop the slide, and then I'll reholster or put the weapon in a safe place. That weapon is safely cleared now, and if you wanted to, you could go pound nails into a 2x4 with it. I mean, I don't recommend doing that, but the point is, I went through the steps to make sure it's good and safe. So before I ever dry fire or do anything with a pistol, even demonstrations here, I'm always gonna make sure the weapon's safe, make sure there's no magazine, make sure I do a good 3-point check. It's just good business. If you can go to a range that has rentals, and you're interested in a particular kind of gun, you could go and look and see. But most times when you go to a range that offers rentals, say an indoor range, a lot of times they'll give you unlimited access to the pistols, which means you could go shoot one pistol for a bit and then come back and trade it for another pistol on the same rental. Most of them are set up that way to give customers the opportunity to try different weapon systems. If you can, go shoot it, but do you have to? No, because I think probably the most important aspect is the feel, the grip. They want to know, how does it feel in my hand? Because if you're not comfortable with the weapon system and it doesn't feel comfortable in your hand, it's not likely you're going to practice with it. And the worst gun is the one you don't train with. And conversely, the best gun is the one that you'll train with frequently. When you're budgeting to buy a firearm, especially if it's a first firearm, the first thing you need to realize is that it's not just the firearm that you have to get. Because with every firearm, I have to have a safe place to store it. I'm gonna need ammunition to train with, any cleaning equipment that I'm gonna need for it, possibly a holster, most likely a holster to put it in. I recommend having a holster. But it's important just to realize that it's just like when you buy a car, it's not just the car you need to think about, it's the insurance, the gas, the maintenance. But for $400, you can get a very reliable, very good pistol. And starting at the basics with dry firing, because with dry firing it's great, you've already made the initial investment. You just practice handling it a lot dry. It's usually somewhere in the $700 or $800 range that you can get a pistol with everything you need to maintain it safely and train with it, and then it goes up from there. You have to look within your own particular budget too and what your needs are. Is it for self-defense or is it for competition? But I recommend doing a deep dive. And until recently, I used to highly recommend that first-time shooters get a used pistol because so many people buy them and then trade them in, or buy them and then realize they don't need them and go resell them. So there's a lot of really low miles pistols, so to say, on the market, but that's not so true anymore. It's become much tougher to get a pistol. But if you can find a quality used one, there's nothing wrong with that. Usually it'll shave a couple $100 off the price, and you can find a lot of quality used pistols out there. Well, I mean, I'm a little biased in that area because that's what I do for a living. I train people on firearms, tactical trauma, situational awareness. I mean, that's what I've dedicated my life to because the weapon is useless without it. Every tool is useless without the training, the proper know-how to use it. I'm gonna quote the famous Jeff Cooper, who's a legend in the firearm community, and he said, you're no more a marksman because you own a gun than you are a musician because you own a guitar. Just having a gun doesn't make you a marksman. Although I will say, for every live round that I fired, I probably dry fired 500 rounds. So most of my practice that I do at home once I've safely cleared the pistol, and I just dry fire the pistol. I'll just rack it and get used to the operation of the trigger, understanding where the trigger breaks, how it affects, feeling the pistol, handling it, looking through the sights, sighting it up. And so you could do a lot of the training at home, but the training is required. If you think you're just gonna buy a pistol and start carrying it and that's gonna make you prepared, you're wrong. It's the training that makes the difference. It's the one distinct advantage you have over bad guys. So if we talk about bad guys or people that would do you harm, the assumption is that they're going to ignore the rules. And so it's on us when we purchase a firearm or when we get involved in self-defense or when we think about defending our home and our livelihood and the things that we love, is that we understand that the onus is on us, that we have to be able to operate faster within the set of rules than they can operate outside the set of rules. And the only way that you can achieve that is through training. Again, my name is Matt Smith. I'm the director of training at Sheepdog Response. We love to train in all things self-defense. We train defensive tactics, firearms, hand-to-hand, tactical trauma, situational awareness, anything that would help somebody protect themselves and their livelihood. Firearms is just one portion of that. But any questions you guys have, leave them in the comments below. We'd love to make videos. We love to educate the masses so that we can protect and preserve human life. So hit us up with any questions you have. If we can answer them, we will. Like and subscribe to the videos so we can keep them coming for you. And if you have more questions, let us know. Thanks for watching.